Bonjour, everybody. Welcome back to Born in Paris, built in Palm Beach. In today's episode, I want to walk you guys through my earlier years as I ride around in this Uber. I was born in Paris in the 13th arrondissement, and after that, we moved around quite a bit. We lived in Porte des Lilas, then we lived in Porte de Pantin, and after that, we settled in a city in the outskirts of Paris that's called Villetaneuse. Villetaneuse overall was a decent city, but we lived in what we call the Cité, and Cité Allende is where we lived, and it was pretty bad. We had roaches. I used to see rats in the stairs sometimes. The elevator was almost never working, so we used to have to go up the stairs multiple times a day, especially after going grocery shopping. Um, Another thing about that neighborhood is that the crime rates were pretty high. A lot of apartments would get burned, a lot of vehicles would get burnt as well. A lot of people experienced sexual assault. Needless to say, it was a pretty bad neighborhood. Another thing that used to happen that used to confuse the heck out of me was the carjacking. They had two strategies. Either they would try to steal the whole car, they would have one person pretend to cross the street really slow while some other people come and open the doors and just pull the driver out of the seat, and then they would get into the car and drive off really fast. And then the second thing they would do is if a lady was driving in the car with a purse on her lap, they would open the doors, snatch the bag, and run super fast. And we used to see that multiple times a week. It was annoying to witness, but it is what it is. The highlight of us living in Villetaneuse, though, was my elementary school. And what I'm going to share next was definitely a defining moment of my life. The best part about Villetaneuse was the fact that every year they would host a race for all the elementary schools to come and compete. So when I first moved to Villetaneuse, I was 9 years old, and I competed in the race that year and I won. My teacher, Monsieur Rodriguez, was super excited, and he was encouraging my dad to sign me up for track and field. But my dad wasn't really, my parents are immigrants, so anything outside of the status quo was basically just doing a lot. So he wasn't going for it. The second year, I was 10 years old and I won again. This time, the director of the elementary school, Monsieur Charbonneau, also advocated for my dad to sign me up for track and field because they could both see the potential in me. And I'm so appreciative for them. I've tried multiple times to find them on LinkedIn and Facebook, but I haven't had a chance to find them yet. So if you guys run into this documentary, I would love to catch up and tell you that thanks to you guys, I was able to continue with my path in track and field and later earn a track and field scholarship that gave me the opportunity to come study in the US and also build a beautiful life. So I would love to meet up with you guys, maybe have coffee or lunch or dinner on me and just celebrate what you guys saw in me back then. Continuing this story, at 11 years old, I was enrolled in track and field and I competed in the race again and I won again, but this time by landslide. So proud of myself. That was definitely a defining moment in my life. And from there, I was able to grow my love for track and field and compete for another 20 consecutive years. Being in track and field opened so many doors for me, so many relationships. And to be honest, quite frankly, even today, just mentioning the fact that I was a track athlete still continues to open doors for me. Now, let's talk about my middle school years. Because I came out of elementary school being super athletic, considering that I was enrolled in a legit track and field club, I was presented with the option to be in what they called an athletic class, meaning that we will have more PE than the rest of the students. And they had two sports options, and the options were track and field and handball. I had selected a handball, and I became pretty good at it to the point where I was faced with the decision of choosing either to continue with track and field or to continue with handball. And I guess you guys know what I ended up selecting. The city of Viltaneuse didn't have a high school, so we had to commute to the neighboring city of Épinay-sur-Seine to go to high school. But it was fine because that was the high school we were zoned for. So I would commute there with some people from my city that I knew from my previous years. So I commuted for about half of the year, and then January 1st, our apartment actually got broken into on January 1st, 2005. Imagine going to the Eiffel Tower to bring in the new year as a family. You're having a great time, everybody's happy, and it's year 2005. We're just happy and excited. And then we get home only to find that our house got broken into. We lived on the sixth floor, so I'm still trying to understand how these guys climbed all the way up there to break into our apartment. I'm still so mad at that. And more so, I am mad because I had just received a PS2 for Christmas, as well as a DVD of You Got Served, and it got stolen. Outside of that, they also stole my stepmom jewelry, and they also stole our passports. Later that year, we found that they tried to do some identity theft with our names. That was so crazy. But from that moment on, my parents decided they had enough of Viltaneuse, and we relocated to Épinay-sur-Seine. And what you guys are seeing on the screen right now, it's me riding through Épinay-sur-Seine. It was definitely an upgrade from Viltaneuse, much cleaner, much nicer. The best part about living in Épinay-sur-Seine was my high school, the Lycée Jacques Feder. There, I learned to be more civically engaged. My first year at 15 years old, I participated in my first protest. One of our schoolmates was being deported to Cameroon, which is where he was from, and he had a baby on the way, and he was a pretty good student, and we didn't think that was right, so we were trying to do something about it. So what we did was called a blocus, which is when you prevent students and teachers from going into the school. And if we hold for a certain amount of time, I think it was 1 hour, if we hold for an hour, then school is out for the rest of the day. And that would give us an opportunity to go to the prefecture, which is where they give people paperwork like visas and passports and things like that. We would go to the prefecture and protest in front of it to advocate for the schoolmate. We were successful in our undertaking, and he was able to remain in France. So that was exciting, and that was definitely another defining part of my life. I lived in Épinay-sur-Seine for the remaining of my high school years. Before going to college, I took a year off where I worked 4 different jobs trying to have some money saved for college. I didn't want to move with $8 and a dream, even though as soon as I got there, I spent all the money in books and dorms and cafeteria. But that's another story for another day. And on that note, I will conclude episode number 10, and I will see you guys in episode 11.